Mic check. 1, 2. Can everybody hear the guru? What's up, man? How y'all doing? I know we just got started, so let's give it some time for people to come on and join us. But whoever is in here, how you guys hearing me? Can you hear me okay? I'm going to give it some time and we're going to start to build it up. We got about 6 people in here so far. Can you guys let me know how you can hear me? If you can hear me okay? How's the sound? How's the quality of the picture coming in? All right, I'm going to send the link, so just bear with me for a moment. I'm going to put out a link, and if anybody's in here, you guys can share your links with me, with your social media. Bring in some people today. Got a lot to talk about. We got some stare down observations I wanted to address. You know, coming from someone who's been in so many stare downs, like even unofficial stare downs, hey, Alec, hey, when you've seen somebody look somebody in the eyes as many times as I have before a fight, and when you've watched so many of these and observed them for these reasons, like I've been taking notes on stare downs, so I'm especially very familiar with the exact specific fighters that we just watched. And one of the people I was looking forward to the most was Tony Ferguson and Charles Oliveira. And I'll explain to you why those two in particular were two fighters that I was really looking extra close at making observations on what I needed to see from them and pertaining their stare downs, because they don't have the best poker face. They kind of wear their hearts on their sleeves. And so we'll talk more about it. Let me just get some more people in the room. I'm going to send a link to my people to get them in here ASAP, and we'll get started in less than 2-3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes tops. I'll talk to you guys about a lot of rumors that I'm noticing that's going around for this card. There's a lot of traps people are setting. I don't know if it's purposely. I don't know if it's due to lack of knowledge. Before we even continue, can you guys verify? Are you able to hear me okay? Is the sound coming in okay? Is the sound all right? Perfect. All right, let me send this link out. There we go. What's up, my boy Adam and Gowers? Thank you guys for joining me. All right, there you go. My boy Rambo in the house. Participants, copy. Okay, I just figured out how to copy the link. Bear with me for a second while I post it. Yeah, you don't want to miss this live segment. This live segment is going to be important. I'm going to tell you the things that I picked up on at this weigh-in and stare downs is going to be imperative. It's made me go from 90% confident to 120% confident. The things that I picked up today's face-offs is more important. It's more relevant. It's going to be more helpful in me picking the correct winner. It's made me more sure than any tape studies, any interviews, any rumors, anything I could have researched will not come close to what I was able to discover during this stare down observation that I made. The stare down observations that I just picked up on are crucial. They're essential in a way that you guys will never understand until I explain it. So be patient. Give me a few moments. Let me get things started. Yes. Thank you, Elias. I appreciate you joining us, my friend. I appreciate everybody in the chat room so far. We are just starting now, so be patient. I'm just making a post so everybody can join us, and I don't have to repeat anything twice. In the meantime, if you guys got any questions for me, leave it in the chat. I'm here to verify rumors and touch on any type of rumors or questions pertaining just the fight, co-main event, main event, and the fights that I've talked about on the channel already. I'm not going to get into the other picks that's selected for the patrons, but I will get into the main event, the co-main event, the signs, the face-offs, and rumors pertaining to the event. So I could help you with that stuff. That'll teach you the things that I picked up on that are relevant to who you're going to bet, how you're going to bet them, and I'm going to explain to you the relevance of the things that I picked up on. The body language, all those things that I picked up on at the face-offs. It says a story that's hasn't been wrote yet. The story, it's already been written, but it hasn't been put on paper, if you know what I mean. Like the fight has practically taken place already. It's just a matter of we have to witness it now. We got to see it. It's almost like when you solve a problem or on paper, but like you did the equation and now you just got to fill in the answers properly. Now we're just going to get the formalities out the way. What we witnessed today was huge. It's going to tell us, what we saw today was basically the most important part of the fight. The major thing that we needed to know before going into the fight, it's already got an answer for us. Because one of these fighters, all right, I'll get rid of the idiots in the chat room. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of these people. Anyway, so thank you, my friend Elias. I appreciate that. Yes, exactly, Simple Man. I'm gonna tell you guys about the story that I've seen, and this is a familiar thing to me. I've seen this, and I'm gonna explain. I'm not just gonna tell you what I witnessed. I'm gonna tell you how you can verify it yourselves, because there's a reason I was able to pick up on this, because I've seen these fighters in face-offs before. I've studied their body language, and I can tell you what it means when they do something, and then I can tell you what it means when they don't do it as well. So it's, for example, if I'm very close to my friend, let's say John, I'll use Al K. If me and Al K are very good friends, right? And I know that when Al K is not in a good mood, he likes to roll his eyes, or he does like huffing and puffing. And I just know that when he's not in a good mood, he's going to do that. So I know what to expect. So if I just walked into the room and I see him rolling his eyes, I know what he's feeling, right? It's the same thing with these fighters. After seeing Oliveira's on his 50th fight in the UFC, this is his 50th face-offs he's done, and in stare downs he's done. I can tell you these people like the back of my hand. I've read them. They're easier to read than the book. How much you can gather about someone's chin. No, it's not it has nothing to do with the way a chin looks, believe it or not. Like those people, look at perfect example, Luke Rockhold. Luke Rockhold has one of those butt chins that look like they're really out there, but we've seen he's got a glass chin, right? It's not about what it looks like, but who's a perfect example of a guy who you cannot Dusko Todorovic. Dusko Todorovic has one of the best chins I've ever seen in the game, but it's round, it's circular. It doesn't look like he's got a strong chin. So it's got nothing to do with the way it looks, believe me or not, believe it or not. Hey, congratulations, Cameron. Thanks for joining us. Well, neck muscles, there's a machine that you can use to work out neck muscles. So it does help, but not so much in a fight. I mean, I guess it can help when you're, every muscle will help you in somewhat because it's connected to other areas, but it's not something you should like heavily focus on. It shouldn't be anything major that you're into. Okay, so back on track. We're going to talk about the stare downs and the way the face-offs went. Some of the things that I observed, I'm going to tell you what they were, why they did it, and what it means, and what it's going to translate to inside the octagon, inside the cage. What those things that I picked up on are going to mean when it comes time to fight. 1 second. Almost done posting this. All right, let me see. Posts. Almost done. Bear with me for a second. Okay, link. Here we are. Perfect. Live. Q&A. And face off. Observations. Join us in the chat. All right, we're good, and this will be a second. All right, one last thing I got to do, and we're going to get started here. Thank you guys for your patience. All right, let's get it going. Okay, guys. So here's what I picked up on, okay? Let's start with the main event with Chandler versus Charles do Bronx. Okay. If you guys don't believe me, what I want you to do is go back to Charlie Oliveira's face-offs. Look, in the beginning, I'll admit, I was high on Tony Ferguson. I thought that this was going to be his comeback spot when him and Oliveira was supposed to fight. I thought that he was going to make a run back to the title again. He was motivated. But there's an inner circle there's a community where fighters talk and trainers talk. There was obviously, if anybody had seen inside the circle of Tony Ferguson's camp, what he was acting like for example, what I picked up in the weigh-in, in the interviews that they were doing today, this media scrum, you can tell he's not all there right now. He's making lies up. He's making stories up. He's in denial, saying that he's not even in his prime. It's either one of two things. He's either lying, he's either incoherent, or he's in denial. There's only three options. He's either in denial, incoherent, or lying. Three of those are the only possibilities. Now, if you're lying, it's because the truth is not something that you don't want anybody to know. That's a bad sign. So all three of the possibilities are bad, and bad. There's no good situation to talk about in favor of Tony, but we'll get back to that for a moment. But the fact of the matter is, we already know this about Tony, but here's the surprise. Here's the rumors we got to kill. Everybody thinks that the favorite, the rightful favorite, the guy with the advantage in many different realms, with the more UFC experience is Charlie Oliveira. Let me tell you first, let me just open it with this big statement. I need you guys to trust me, and I'll even explain it. For those who don't trust me, if you don't want to take the word of a guy who's been in 100 fights, I've had 100 stare downs. Before every one of my fights, I've seen, I swear to God, on my father's life, on my mother's life, I've made grown men cry before the fight even started. From the stare downs, our face-offs, you can make a grown man cry just from your confidence, you're just for what. And before a fight started, I've seen men cry. I've seen men run away. I've seen men get even pumped, more excited and happy, and they couldn't wait to get into the fight. I've seen every different scenario. And now, in specifically reference to Charlie Oliveira, I can tell you that this is the case. If you focused on how he acted in his face-offs against Tony Ferguson, where he knew without a doubt in his mind that when he took that fight, mind you, he canceled his Beneil Dariush fight. He dropped out of a fight with no good excuses, no reason, and he took a fight with Tony Ferguson. So he cherry-picked it and selected the Ferguson fight over Beneil Dariush, because he knew for a fact, he was convinced that he had Tony's number that day. He was going to dominate him, and he was in no danger and no threat. And wherever it went, he was going to be able to just pick him up, drop him on his head, and dominate him and put him in submissions and beat him up. He knew it was going to be a dominating performance, and he was in no danger. So you can see it in the stare downs. You know how nice and calm and cool and collective Oliveira was. I want you to do this when we're done. Compare. Hey, Cisse, how you doing, brother? Thank you for joining us. I want you guys to compare and contrast the Oliveira that you saw before the Ferguson fight, and now compare it to the guy that you saw in the Michael Chandler fight. Nowhere near the same. The movement, the body language, the staring down, the eye contact, the everything you can imagine that could be different was different. Starting with this, the steadiness, the composure, the very cold, like he had that look of confidence. I with no other reason besides the stare downs, I changed my pick to Oliveira. I was no longer siding with Ferguson after the stare downs. Now, that guy I saw in the stare downs with with Ferguson. Okay, all that's, give me 1 second. I gotta get anybody making ignorant and rude statements to people in the chat room or to myself, you're getting blocked, so don't bother. Anyway, sorry about that, guys. So Oliveira's body language, his confidence, even with his eyes. Now we got the body thing. He was literally shaking. He went from being a guy who was very calm and very still. His body was there was no adrenaline. There was no nothing pumped. He was just confident, calm, and cool, which will mean that when he's ready to fight, when he's going to be in the fight, he's also going to be calm. The way that Oliveira acted in front of Chandler today is going to be the same. This is important. Remember this sentence right here. Write it down so you don't forget. This next sentence I'm about to say, keep this in your minds. The way Oliveira acted today in the face-offs, that was completely different than the way he acted when he was confident in his last face-offs against the guy he knew he was going to beat. That is going to be the same exact way he's going to feel and act, but even more so of it. So if he was a little nervous today, he's going to be more nervous on the day of the fight. What he looked like, what he acted like, what he showed today is going to be the same mood, same feelings, same nervous energy he's going to bring into the octagon. Now look, Now we're not going to get to the Chandler side yet. Let me just focus and finish talking about the Oliveira side. Yeah, but did you see what happened, Gowers? In the Derek Lee is on a different level. First of all, we're not going to compare Derek Lee to a three-time world champion, a Division One wrestler, a guy who's got wins over two former UFC champions, a guy who's fighting for the belt after one fight, a guy who just knocked out. Don't compare Derek Lee, but also keep in mind Derek Lee had a lot of success in that fight as well that he shouldn't have had. And keep in mind, how long did it take for Oliveira to get his own success? It didn't happen until Derek Lee was completely gassed. He had nothing left in his gas tank. So that's a scenario you don't want to compare. You're comparing tomatoes to apples. But thank you for your input, Gowers. I'm reading comments as I'm going. Hold on. No doubt. I just remembered how hard. Yeah, yes, I understand. Trust me, I hear you. Chandler seems ready to go for. Oh, let me tell you what I said. Okay, we might as well focus now a little bit on both. Chandler had a look in his face the way that if you told a kid, I'm going to take you to Disney World tomorrow, he almost he felt the nervous energy. He saw it. And let me tell you what else Oliveira did that I've seen happen a million times, and it always meant the same thing. Anytime you see this happen, when you're staring a man in the eyes, it's a stare down. You're supposed to stare him straight in his eyes and show him you ain't afraid, you're confident. The first guy that breaks. And you know what he did when he broke his eye contact? He was the first one to not stare him in the face anymore. He looked for reassurance in a different place where he was hoping. Now he's nervous. This is the mind of Oliveira. He's not liking what he's seeing. He's not liking what he's feeling. He feels something that he didn't feel before in his last fight, and he sees something he didn't see from his opponent in the last fight. I picked up on Ferguson was acting the same way Oliveira was acting in their face-off last time. When he was facing off against Oliveira, the same way he acted and felt was the same way I noticed. It was almost like the tables have turned. Oliveira was now on the other side of the spectrum, on the other side of the end of the pole. So Chandler, on the other hand, was the Oliveira. Chandler did exactly, but even more. Oliveira just looked confident. He just looked like he knew he was going to be the winner. It was nothing like special about it. But Chandler, there's a thing inside of Chandler he's got. I got it. A lot of people had it when they were fighters. Excitement. He wants to see blood. He wants to get blood. He wants to fight. He wants to get hit and give hits back. He enjoys fighting. He's not doing it just for a paycheck. He's not doing it just to be the champion. He's fighting because he enjoys it. I'm sure he's doing it for all those reasons as well. But one of the things that you can tell Chandler genuinely enjoys is the combat, the actual one-on-one fight. Guys like Jiri, you could tell they enjoy it. And that's an advantage that is huge. That itself, if you do it, remember what I told you about Kyler Phillips against Sadong Yangdong, whatever that guy's, he was the underdog, but I told you should have been the favorite because the guy's been training. His opponent's a Chinese guy that's been training since he was in diapers, and he doesn't enjoy it. It was something that they force on their kids. They even make them do it in schools. So that by the time they're adults, they're so sick of it, and they feel like anything that somebody makes you do, even if you wanted to do it, if somebody is forcing you, you no longer have the same enjoyment out of it. You no longer have the same desire to want to practice it and be good at it. It's like anything else. When you don't have interest in a subject, you'll notice if you're a smart kid, but you have no interest in science or you have no interest in social studies, but your favorite subject is math, you're going to do much better in your math class than you're going to do in your social studies or your science class because it relates to your interest. It piques your interest and it gets your focus and attention and it makes you want to be good. at it. It makes you want to try harder. You start to have other incentives. Anyway, yes, remember the live crowd effect. Yeah, but that only goes so far, guys. These are professionals at the highest level. You can put them in a snake pit with poisonous snakes, and the guy with the better skills usually going to still be the one that wins. These guys, they trained for years in their style of combat of martial arts. They're not going to be just all of a sudden bad fighters because of the crowd. The crowd is only going to do so much. It has an effect on certain people, especially a little bit more than others. Debut fighters, nervous, debut fighters especially, or somebody who's like a Daniel Pineda who tries to showboat, or somebody who's like an Anderson Silva who, look what happened. He got taken his belt away and his head taken off his shoulders by Chris Weidman because he wanted to appease the fans and try to showboat. Sometimes it'll work, but that's the rare events. Don't put too much merit on that type of stuff. Anyways, so back on track. What we're gonna do is talk about the comparison. Okay, Chandler's gonna have an edge. 1 second. Chandler's gonna have a big edge. Yeah. Chandler's going to have a big edge. Now, let me ask you about some other things. They want to give Chandler they want to make Chandler the underdog, right? And the reasons why they're giving us for this is because one guy has more UFC experience. He's got more wins in the UFC. He's the more experienced UFC veteran. So the other guy's coming from the B League, right? Ask yourselves this. Who's got defeats? Who's defeated? I'm sorry. Who's got wins over two former UFC champions? Is it Oliveira with 20 wins inside the UFC, or the guy who's new to the UFC? Who's got wins over two UFC? Thank you guys. Who's got wins? Who's got two victories over two former champions and one Hall of Fame legend? 3 Hall of Famers practically. Chandler, that's right. You can say Chandler doesn't have UFC experience, but do you guys know, for example, let me tell you that there are some people that Chandler has beaten that if they were ever in the UFC, let me remind you, UFC, it may be the best organization. It may be the A-leagues, but there are some guys inside Bellator that would mop the floor with the UFC guys. There's a lot of reasons why some people don't want to go to the UFC and rather be with Bellator. Because if you're not on the top echelons, if you don't care about the name value, your legacy, your reputation, and you just care about your paychecks, ask Anthony Smith. Ask Sergio or Anthony Pettis or Sergio Pettis, why did they want to leave UFC and test out Bellator or the open market? Besides sponsorship deals, even their contract fights, their bonuses and their salaries or their purses are better at Bellator unless you're like a Conor McGregor or someone who's at the top of the echelons. So you can't compare A-League and B-League anymore because the B-League has some of the best fighters in the world. Pitbull, give me a guy who's going to be able to beat maybe 1 or 2 guys. You can even compare them to Pitbull. The rest of the division in the bantamweight, lightweight, whatever division you want to choose from. Who's going to beat a guy like Pitbull who's in his prime right now? Who's going to beat a guy like Yaroslav Amosov? He's got 25-0. He's an undefeated prospect in Bellator. He just beat Logan Storley, and decisively 3-0 or 5-0. A guy who he out-wrestled Logan Storley and outstriked them. Yaroslav is better than 90% of the division in that for UFC's lightweight division. He's got talent. He's got wrestling. He's got heart. He's got skills. You can't say that this is the B League anymore. Bellator has some of the best fighters. AJ McKee. AJ McKee, look what he just did to what's his name? Caldwell. He made Caldwell, who's a great UFC. He has a UFC talent as well. He made so some of the fighters out of Bellator, but Chandler's. You can argue Chandler is the one with the more UFC talent and experience, and has the better UFC resume. Because let me ask you guys this: if you went to the NBA for only 1 year, but you were known as a guy who could beat one-on-one, go against LeBron James and beat him one-on-one, or you won the slam dunk contest, would that guy be not considered better than the guy who's been in the NBA for 10 years because he's been there longer, or he was there first? Does it mean that he's better than some rookie fresh out of the D leagues or college? No. There's a reason why he's there now. Forget about the past. These are excuses. But there's only two reasons why the odd makers are trying to fool us. This is a fact. If you want to base it off of paper, what's on paper, if you want to base it off of how they looked when they came together in the stare downs, if you want to base it off of the overall well-rounded skill sets, all three of those things, advantages everywhere it goes, all point in the favor of having Chandler be the favorite. Chandler has no business being an underdog in this position, in this spot. I'll tell you why. Okay, both of these guys are jiu-jitsu specialists. They both have great submissions under their belts, right? But one guy is not cherry picking. One guy doesn't have. Have you ever seen a guy make it to the championship? Imagine if Oliveira becomes a champion, okay? He not only did not beat the champion to get the belt, he never had to fight Khabib because he relinquished it. But who has he beat that's in the top 5 to become even eligible to be fighting for the belt? Have you ever seen somebody make it to the championship title shot and possibly win the title shot without ever? I was more surprised to see beating guys like Jared Gordon, Nick Lentz, losing to guys like Paul Felder, Holloway's, even after all these weird wins, like against guys who are at the end of their career or guys who are just not even top 10, he beat a bunch of scrubs, guys who are glass chins, or just to get to he beat Tony Ferguson that came off of the worst beating of his life. He is never going to be the same after that. Khabib said it himself that Tony is damaged. He's going to lose his next fight. Everybody knew it. Everybody saw that's not the same Tony Ferguson. Mind you that even if it was the same Tony Ferguson of old, this is a new era. This is a new day. The UFC, the evolution of the fighters is different than what the guys like the Robbie Lawlers, the Ferguson. He's older now. His style is outdated. But forgetting that, he's not the same guy anymore. He's not in his prime. He's not the best version of himself either. So besides Ferguson, and again, I'll remind you, he's only fighting guys in the downward spiral. They're going in the downward. Their trajectory is going opposite of forward. They're going backwards. They're either at the end of their careers or they're not in their primes anymore. So a guy who's not beaten anybody worth bragging about, worth flaunting or being impressed by, he won those fights as favorites. He never fought, unlike a Beneil, he didn't go into fights as an underdog and surprise everybody. He went into fights that he was supposed to win, and he won against people that he shouldn't have lost against, that were not even high ranked. How do you get a guy like that to become the next in line for the belt? And the division that's stacked. Guys like Diego Ferreira, guys like Gregor Gillespie, guys like Beneil Dariush, Islam Makhachev. There's no excuse to make a guy. All he did is rack up a nice win streak against guys that anybody would have beat. Anybody would have won against those guys. At least Chandler's tested himself, and guys like Dariush have tested themselves against people that they were even sometimes fight. Like Chandler's last fight, we cashed in on him as a plus 200 underdog. He wasn't supposed to win that fight. So according to what the lines indicated, he was supposed to be beaten up that day. He was supposed to lose that fight. Okay, now let's talk about Beneil and Tony Ferguson's weigh-in and face-offs. Did you guys realize that, okay, Ferguson is not just in denial about the most silly things, about not being in his end of his career, about not even hitting his prime. Are we kidding here? Are we joking? When somebody is going to lie to our faces, how can we trust this person? Why can't he just say, hey, look, I'm at the end of my career. I'm not in my prime, but I was so good in my prime that I'm still going to be one of the best in the world at the end of my career. I don't think anybody can compete with me because I'm just that good. I'm still that good. Look at Bernard Hopkins. Bernard Hopkins was knocking people out at the age of 50. George Foreman came back. Mike Tyson looked great against Roy Jones, a younger Roy Jones. He could have said a million things. What did he do instead? Lied. When somebody feels the need to lie to us, it's a sign of wanting to hide the truth. And if you're going to hide the truth, it's because it's not something that you're proud about, or something that you think that it's something that it's concerning to you and others. So he could be lying to himself. He could be just lying to us and showing up for a paycheck. The guy is not a millionaire. The guy's got hospital bills. I'm surprised Tony hasn't joined Diego Sanchez and Joshua Fabia. Yeah, he fits into that category. You're right. The guy's mentally checked out. He's out. He's completely mentally spaced out right now. And you know what that tells me? Did you hear what he said about I broke my students' ribs? He broke his students' ribs and he bragged about that. Not something he should have been, something that he should have been ashamed of, something that he should have hidden. He wanted to bring it to the light. He wanted to shed light on it and brag about it. And that tells me two things, guys. There's two things that says. You got to brag about hurting a student because you can't hurt a real fighter. Because he knows that he'll probably never get the chance to brag about hurting a real fighter. So let me take the advantage of an opportunity to brag about just hurting anybody. If Tony beats up the water stand guy, the hot dog stand guy, he's going to brag about it because he doesn't see himself beating anybody that's relevant. So he doesn't see himself beating anybody that's going to be inside the cage with him. And instead, it's almost like the syndrome of when somebody gets bullied, they want to bully somebody else back that's smaller than him, right? So if I'm getting bullied by someone bigger than me and I'm getting embarrassed, I'm going to go embarrass somebody else. So Tony just came off some bad losses back to back, and he feels belittled now. He feels like he's not the same. He feels weak and small. So he couldn't wait for the first opportunity to say that he hurt somebody, even if it was his own student. Student, the word student means learning, new, green, undeveloped. That's what you were finding something to brag about. You weren't bragging about, hey, I was in a sparring session with this great boxer or another UFC featherweight or a lightweight or a heavyweight. You couldn't brag about that. You couldn't brag about some gym stories. You had to brag about hurting a student. Beneil caught onto it and said, what kind of a dick move is that? He said, why would you even do that? So, like, look where he is mentally. He's like that. I'm just waiting for him, like Cameron said. Yeah, it's bad signs. You got to pay attention. I pick up on everything, guys. The fact that he's got to brag about something like that, and the fact that he's lying to us, he lied to our faces, saying something that everybody knows that is a lie. So look, If he's lying about things that the whole world knows is not true, like being, because he didn't say it in a joking manner. He said it in a way to try to in his mind, he thinks that people will believe he's still not in his prime yet, that there's going to be a version of him we're going to see one day that's going to be in his prime. That's the actual mentality he had behind that stupid thought. So he tried to lie to us in something that was that silly. Imagine what else he'll lie to us about. How he feels, how if he should be taking this fight. He should not. He knows. There's only two people that know. But I would not surprise me to see Tony being in denial and lying to himself. He's that mentally checked out where he can maybe get away with lying. He would fall for his own lies. That would not surprise me. So, the guy he's fighting against, Beneil, he's been waiting for this opportunity. This is like a guy who's been in jail for 5 years being told he's about to get a steak dinner. This is something that he's been drooling and scratching at and clawing about wanting to get at for a long time. This is an opportunity of a lifetime. You know what Beneil's biggest problem was? If you change this one thing about Beneil, he would be undefeated today. Mark my words. Beneil's a hothead. He's the show off, but for the different reasons for himself. He's too proud and he's too much of a show off, but not for the crowd, not for the people behind their TV screens, for himself, for his family, for his pride, for his woman, for his kid, for everybody in that future kid. But let me tell you what he's fixed. This version of Beneil Dariush, the guy who listens to Rafael Cordeiro, who's not going against the trainer's requests, the guy who's got a baby on the way, his firstborn baby ever on the way, this motivated, calculated, and focused and obedient Beneil, he would be undefeated. He would have never, remember, this is a guy whose only losses came in fights that he was winning and dominating. He was on his way to win a 30-27 decisive unanimous decision win against Barbosa until he got caught with a flying knee. Anybody would go down by that knee. That's the kind of knee that we saw Chris Weidman had to go and take years off of and came back from a guy who was practically an undefeated Hall of Fame future champion, took a knee like that and cracked his skull by statue of God, Yoel Romero. No, that guy, soldier of God, gave him a knee just the same way that Beneil had gotten caught by and he had lost. Chiesa, he was getting beat up and dominated by him until he had to use the bathroom so bad he mustered up everything he could inside of him. He surprised Beneil because he didn't have enough in him. He wasn't fighting at that pace, and then all of a sudden he had to use the washroom, and he flipped the script. He went from like barely having any cardio and gas tank to like, oh man, I got to get off the stage. I got to use the washroom. I'm going to embarrass myself. And then he got caught with a submission because the guy was trying to get out of the stage as soon as possible. So that was another fight that Beneil Dariush, even in the post-fight interview, Chiesa said, hey, I only won because I had to use the washroom. I needed to go take the crap so bad. That was his post-fight interview. Okay, who else? Alex Hernandez, debut fight. We don't know anything about him at this point. It was his first fight in the UFC. Alex Hernandez got power, if nothing else. And on any given day, anybody can get. He didn't get dominated for 3 rounds and lost to a decision. He got hit with one punch. Nobody has ever beat Beneil in the decision scorecards. He's undefeated at the scorecards. The closest anybody ever got to beating him was a split decision. That was once against when Michael Johnson was in his prime. The same Michael Johnson who almost knocked out Khabib. The guy who's come closest to knocking out and knocking down Khabib, that version of Michael Johnson was the only one that came close to winning a decision. but he fought in Michael Johnson's realm. He didn't mix in his wrestling because he was stubborn. He was not listening to his trainers. Even in the that old version of him was still successful. Imagine the new version. Did you see the difference in his Diego Ferreira fight? As soon as he went to his corner and Rafael Cordero said, Benny, why are you doing this? Why are you making it harder on yourself? Just use your wrestling. Use your wrestling and you'll be okay. Because he got caught. He got hit with something that it took him the long, hard way to find out he should have listened, but now he's listening. Now, Beneil, I can tell. I never seen him feel like he was being attacked because he's such a nice guy. He's a holy guy, talks about religion. Nobody ever attacked him, and Tony pissed them off. Me and Beneil we come from the same ethnicity. We have the same nationality and ethnic background. I'm going to tell you now, the last thing you want to do to one of us, make it personal. If you want to fight with me for a sport, for a paycheck, that's cool. We'll fight. But when you make it personal, when you make me want to fight with you, not because of a paycheck, not because of a belt, not because of the rankings, you're going to see a side of me you don't want to see. You're going to see a motivated version of me that is different than the guy you would have saw who's just showing up to, because it's a sport and it's my job. Today, Ferguson made it personal. You can see it in Beneil's eyes. He does not like Ferguson right now. He's going to want to take his anger and his beef out on him tomorrow or on Saturday. Sorry. And, I like Tony. I enjoy, I appreciate all he's done for the sport. I'm not attacking him in any way. I don't like that he's lying to people. I don't like that he's in denial. I don't like the way he's handling the situation, but I love that he gave us those blood, sweat, and tears that he gave us I'll always appreciate those years and those fights that he gave us. I'll be grateful for it for eternity. But we got to focus on what it is today. Today's present version of Tony is not the same Tony. Did you remember what he did? You know which version we're seeing right now? Go back. I want you guys to remember this, okay? Do you remember what Justin Gaethje, one of the nicest guys in the world, Justin Gaethje said to Tony Ferguson after their fight when he went in to squeeze him and give him a hug and show class and sportsmanship? Tony Ferguson pushed him. The fight was over. The bell had rung. The scorecards were read already. The decision was made. The fight was over. Tony Ferguson still pushed him and said, "Get the hell out of here. Get out of my face." He told him to get out of my face. Guy was respectful to you. He could have showed off. He could have made fun of you. He could have embarrassed. He could have done so many things different, but he showed class and sportsmanship. And how did Ferguson deal and react to it? Pushing him away, physically pushing him. He said, "Get out of here." I mean, it's hard to say you like someone who does things like that. I'm a sportsman. I've won some, I've lost some. I'll never be a guy who's not going to be classy in defeat. If you lose to the better man, the better team, you got to be respect. You got to appreciate the skills that came behind it. It reminds me of one time I was going to the bank to deposit money. And my girlfriend had told me, "Why are you walking out with all that money inside your pockets? You got too much money in your pockets." You know what I told her? Look, I've been training 13 years. I've been a professional trainer even for 7 years. I've done all different. I did karate. I did this. I did that. And I'm not a pushover. I got the heart of a lion. If somebody can take this money from me, because it's going to take what is he going to do? Beat me up? He earned that money. He deserved it. I'm talking about a common day criminal, a thief, a burglar. We're talking about, and I was willing to respect them for being able to take my money if they could, because they would have had to work for it. They're not going to get it handed over to them. So Justin Gaethje worked for that win. He showed martial arts and heart and skills. He deserved a handshake. He deserved a pat on the back, not a push, not a get out of my face. That rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know how you guys felt about that, but I was a Tony fan, but it became hard to stay a Tony fan after seeing things like that. And now at this press conference, him lying about it, especially it being in his prime, and you could tell he wasn't joking. He was trying to deceive us. He tried to make himself sell himself like almost like a street girl, trying to show some skin to make herself look good. He was trying to make himself look good, and even was willing to talk down on a guy who goes to Haiti. Beneil took time out of his training class to go do charity work, to go help the the hungry and the poor, people that were dying in the streets of Haiti. He did volunteer work. Why are you going to talk negative? I mean, can't you sell a fight and be able to be confident with that, with some class? So guys, this is also I'm killing rumors. So go ahead. I'm going to give you some moments to ask questions about the fights coming up, anything we've talked about, the co-main event, the main event. I would like you to focus on mostly, but if you have some questions about other fights, as long as I don't give you too much information, because I don't want to share too much, that's for the patrons only. I'm not going to be giving out my paid picks for free, but if you have some questions, like for example, you guys got to be careful. A lot of people are telling you to bet the over on like the girls' fights. These girl fights are probably not the best for overs. Vivian, did you see what she did in her debut fight against Bernardo? She was like the Michael Chandler of women's MMA that day. What a beautiful, clean knockout against a girl who's very tough and durable. A girl who had only been knocked out once in her long career, and it was by a former UFC women's champion. So she was only the second person to knock her out. So she's got knockout power. And did you see what happened before her second to last fight? Katlyn Chookagian was screaming at the top of her lungs in pain, and the referee had to stop a fight early because of one body strike. That shows, look, when you're in the gym, if you're training, when I used to be a boxer, when I used to train, I used to lay on the ground, on the floor, and my trainer would stand on top of the table, on top of the boxing ring, and throw a big medicine ball on top of my abs. They used to throw it on my abs, and I would have to throw it back up, and he would throw it on my abs down again with all of his might. So my stomach, my abs became so hard. And now they got technology. You don't have to do it. That's the old school way, 10, 20 years ago. Throwing a medicine ball from the top of the ring or a table or a chair onto your stomach while you're sitting on your back, that's how you could tell she had no time in the gym. It took one strike to put her down. Jessica Andrade was able to put her, and Vivian has even as much, if not more, power than her. So there's enough value on the underdog where you don't got to chase a prop bet. So don't be greedy, don't be foolish. And the other women's MMA fight, Valentina's sister is going to be, Antonina is going to be looking for a finish from start to finish. She's just like her sister. She may not have the same skill sets, but she's going to have the same mentality. Okay, I'm reading questions now. All right, let me catch up. Let's go. First of all, what's up, everybody? Thank you guys for joining us. We got almost 60 people in the chat room. Thank you guys for spending some time with us on the channel today. Make sure if you're not a subscriber, if you can please take a moment to subscribe. That way you get notifications when I do my live channels and my question and answers and my notification and my observations or my weekly predictions. You guys want to be a part of that, I'm sure. So hit the subscribe and the bell notifications. And if you can like the video, and that'd be cool too. What do you think of, I'm sorry if I'm going down the wrong list. I'm going to go from most recent to before. What do you think of I don't want to give new fights. I'll touch on it a little bit. I don't want to give my picks out. That's for the paid members. So if you can focus on more so the fights that we've talked about, I've already predicted on my channel, which would be the main event, the co-main event, and one more. I can't remember which one I gave you guys. But here, guys, let me ask you this, Barb, on a event that's full of world beaters, number one contenders, future champions, former champions. Why would you want to fight, and why would you want to put money on a person like Mazany? Mazany's still developing. She's got a trainer like James Cross, but I've seen that remember her last win, the only time she looked halfway decent was against the girl who got cut. Rachel Ostovich is no longer with UFC for a reason. She was losing back-to-back fights to people that were not high level, and she didn't dispose of her easily. She wasn't impressive. She just barely won. She made some very, very big mistakes, Mazany, in moments that most other fighters on a higher level in her division would have capitalized on and probably put her away. So James Cross, as good as he is, I think he's a great trainer. You can only make lemonade when you're given lemons. If you give me lemons, I'm not going to be able to give you strawberry daiquiris. I mean, I can only give you lemonade. So as good as James Cross is, I don't think he's going to have much luck getting Gina Mazany into becoming like a future champion. And here, let me tell you something about James Cross, because now he does a betting show. Just to show you guys, there's a lot of other shows. Those shows were made and started by like the big organizations like Bet365. They sponsor Hardy that does picks, that former fighter, the Reptile show. Do you think it's a coincidence that they're sponsored and they advertise for a casino? You think that he's going to give you the picks that are going to hurt the casinos when that's who he works for? A lot of these casinos are the people that are making these shows. So, like, for example, if my name is FanJules, I'm going to pay two kids named Bob and Joe to go start a show and give you guys wrong picks so that they can cash in. They know they've taken a lot of action, and anybody who's given action, they're going to go listen to these kids, these predictors. James Cross said in his most recent show on ESPN, his best bet, his most confident pick was Gina Mazany. You know who else said that? MMA prediction guru. Or like, I don't remember who else was saying that. Somebody was saying it that they're sending me screenshots and telling me that these other gurus were going with Gina Mazany and people like that on a card like this. This is a pay-per-view event. Some of the best fighters in the world are on this card. And that's who you're going to go with? That's your most confident pick? For real? A girl who was almost going to get cut, who had to move camps, move weight classes. She had to go to a different weight class to find success beating up smaller people because she was running out of ideas. I'm not high on any of those people. Mazany has got her disadvantage, and so does Cachoeira. Cachoeira has no skills. She's equally as bad. Anybody who wants to bet on the fight like that is a gambling degenerate. You have so many good plays. Do you know there is not one 2-leg parlay that you can make on this entire event, and that doesn't pay plus money. So if you take your two highest level, best, most confident picks, they'll pay way better than any Gina Mazany fight that you can bet on, or any women's MMA fight you can bet on this card. Why put yourself in these? Listen, when there's so many juicy values, when there's underdogs that should be favorites, like I just told you, Chandler should be a favorite. They're giving us underdog value, and you're giving us a way to parlay him with another guy who should be a minus 500 favorite Beneil Dariush should be a minus 700 favorite. So you put that guy. Do you know what a parlay with Chandler and Dariush is paying? So why would you fall into the landmines when they're giving you sweet deals like that? They're gonna put in a landmine like Gina Mazzani. They're gonna give you a Caitlin Chukagian landmine so you can step on it and blow your parlays up. They're gonna give you a Rodolfo Vieira on the Louis Koski. Tell you, oh yeah, they're black belt killers and minus 6. The guy never won a tournament without his gi. He's a BJJ gi tournament. He never fought without a gi. And his first fight against somebody not even high level, I told you, if you looked at my Twitter, he was going to get put to sleep. And just like I thought, and it wasn't even because he was gassed out. Rodolfo Vieira was getting pieced up. He was getting pieced up on the feet. Anthony Fluffy lit him up like a Christmas tree. He was all different colors. Then he gassed out, but that all that did is just slow him down from getting finished. When he gassed out, then he was going to get beat up even worse. That's all it did. Even before he gassed out, he was outclassed. All right, look how tired Gregor was. Yep, I agree. Love me some Jacare. Yeah, man, who's not a Jacare fan? Souza, Jacare. Jacare is alligator in Portuguese. So Brazilians and Portuguese people, the word that he goes by, Jacare, is alligator, because he's known for putting you in like submissions and locks you can't get out of, like an alligator who chomps their jaw, who locks their jaws. That's what he's known for, having like that type of strength. So yeah, he's got a matchup that's, look, the guy he's fighting against, if he doesn't, you got to remember, man. Do you remember what happened to Uriah Hall the first 2 or 3 rounds against Silva? These new guys, when they go into it's like, imagine after following the sport for so long, being a big fan of a guy like Silva, and then all of a sudden you find yourself inside the cage with him, having to fight him. It's hard to put that to the side and be able to perform your best. So we got to see how he's going to perform, knowing that he's in there with a veteran, with a guy who's such a big name. And also we got to know that he's not going to be just reliant on his BJJ. So that's a thing we got to know. He's too new. We don't know, is he comfortable? Is he going to be, because he's got the skills. He's got the physicality. He's got the physique. He's got the length. He could be able to put this guy away. He could put Jacare away inside the distance without having to use his BJJ, which is one of his best suits. But will he do that? Does he know that? Is he confident in himself, inside with himself? These are questions that nobody can ever know from studying tape, or unless you know the guy personally. So you got to be careful in these kind of spots. Oh, okay. I see what you say. I see what you mean. I like that prop as well. Thank you for sharing that, Nicholas. Anybody got any questions before we start to wrap this up? We've been on for an hour already. I'm in Eastern Europe time zone. So right now, by me, it is 2 a.m., 2:15 in the morning over here. All right. Looks like you guys don't really have any questions, unless I missed one. If I missed it, you could just retype it if you don't mind. All right. So I will consider doing a live companion for you guys who want to join me. I'll do a live companion. How many in here will be joining me for a live companion if I do a live companion? Sorry, 1 second. Do you think Chandler sometimes overextends on his punches? He used to do that sometimes a long time ago. He had that problem, but not so much. It was never really a big thing. He used to do it sometimes, but it seems like he's really tightened up. He's fixed all those little small holes that he had in his game, but it wasn't that more so like a hole. He knows how to throw a punch. It just sometimes you get excited. You see a finish coming. Like, did you see what happened to Usman and Gilbert Burns? He even said it in a post-fight interview. He said, I got too excited. I got ahead of myself. I saw Usman get hurt, and I overreacted, and that happens sometimes. It's like in the moment. Okay, Jamie Pickett, he fights exactly like. Did you see his most recent wins? The guy was throwing like 20 punch combinations. When he lets his hands go, when he's not feeling threatened by a high level fighter, if you're not putting him in there against a one punch knockout artist or like a super high level UFC fighter, you'll see him feel comfortable with letting his hands go. And there's one thing that we know about Jordan Wright. He is not comfortable with getting hit. So a guy who throws a lot of combinations and punches and bunches, imagine what's going to happen when he connects. He's long, he's strong. As soon as he connects on Jordan Wright, he's going to do his famous balling up and cover up. He does not like getting hit. That you cannot change that about. You either have heart and the courage to be able to take a punch, or you don't. It's not something that you can fix. It's something that's inside you. It's built into you. So Jamie Pickett will realize that the guy's covering up instead of blocking intelligently. And if the referee doesn't stop it first, he's going to do the same thing Joaquin Buckley did. Joaquin Buckley didn't knock him out because of one punch. He didn't do like a one-punch knockout, walk-off. He got it in bunches and punches and bunches, and a flurry of them. And one of them landed very good because after the first few landed, Jordan Wright did his famous cover up, ball up. You could tell that Jordan Wright's management, his coaching and trainers don't have confidence in him. You look at his resume. His first 5 or 6 fights, his opponent's total combined record was 0-40. Why would your trainers, why would your management give you a combined total record of 0-40 for your first 5 or 6 fights? What does that say about how confident they are in your skill sets? What does that say about how high level they think you are? Ninja Turtles. See, here's the thing about Chandler, Justin. Chandler has wrestling jiu-jitsu. It's not normal jiu-jitsu. It's not normal wrestling. Do you remember that submission? I want you guys, look, just pay attention to one submission, okay? There's one submission I want you to pay attention to. He got an arm triangle over one of his opponents that he was squirming out of the way. And anybody who did not have high-level wrestling would have lost the submission. Do you know why 2 minutes? Look at for example, same submission. Same submission was done to Masvar Evolov. I always use examples with people on the same card. Look at Mike Grundy's last fight, 2 minutes and 30 seconds into his fight with Masvar Evolov. He got Masvar Evolov into a submission that nobody probably could have gotten out of, except Masvar Evolov was able to finally weasel his way out of the submission and not get put to sleep by the arm triangle. He The reason he was successful in eluding and getting out of that submission is because he focused and got fixated on just using his submission jiu-jitsu. Yes. Now, compare that submission attempt that Grundy did to Avlev that was almost successful, but now add some wrestling to it. Imagine that while Evloev is squirming and sprawling out of that submission, if Chandler was doing it like the submission he did over his opponent that I can't remember, let me give you the exact name. Hold on. If you guys remember, Chandler did a submission over one of his opponents that he was using his wrestling. Every time his opponent was trying to squirm out of the way, he was beating him into the better position. So we were watching Chandler as he had his hooks and his triangle in, the rest of his body was still wrestling with his opponent. He wasn't just stationary and focused on only the submission like we saw Mike Grundy, who's actually also a wrestler. He's a good wrestler, but he did not know how to multitask. He didn't know how to use them both at the same time. That's a special skill set. That's a special talent that he showed he has, which is an advantage. So technically, the rumor about Michael Chandler being in danger on the ground and Oliveira being the better submission guy is not necessarily true. In Bellator, Chandler has more submission wins than knockout wins, and he has a lot of knockout wins against some of the best guys. And let me remind you, he also has decision wins against decision machines. Everybody's so impressed about about Oliveira's record, about his submissions. Do you know that Chandler has a win over a guy who's got a better record, very high level? He just got robbed out of a decision that he won clearly, one of the biggest robberies in history. Do you know that Chandler has already beat a guy with 20 submissions on his record? Giyotti Yamuchi has 20 submission wins and 1 TKO and 4. He's 25-5, but he should be 26-4. He got robbed. So a guy with a 26-4 record, who has more submission wins than Oliveira, and he doesn't cherry pick fights. That guy, Chandler, defeated unanimously. Never was in any trouble. 20 submissions. So that's one more than Oliveira. Oliveira has 19 only, and he cherry picks. So don't think that this is new. Chandler has other wins, he actually has a ground and pound finish over a guy who's a BJJ specialist as well. A guy who's a good submission specialist who was trying to submit him, found himself on his back and lost because of the ground and pound. Because on the ground, where he thought he would have the advantage, is where he lost the fight. So I'm going to tell you guys, like I said in my breakdown video, if Oliveira makes any sloppy or missed attempts on Chandler and finds himself on his back with the Iron Michael Chandler on top of him, it could be early night. Hey, what's up, my main man? BC's in the house. Just when I'm trying to end the live companion, you guys are bringing in more people, more friends of the Patreon. How can I leave you guys if you're friends of the Patreon now? You guys are joining in. Yeah, one dude, Mike Mooney, just said it. There's a guy, I was about to say it too. He had 0 wins and 20 losses. Mike Mooney said it was actually 21 losses. I thought it was 19 or 20. He said it's 21 losses. So if your trainers, your managers are putting you up against a guy who's 0-21, what are they saying about you? What are they saying about, perfect example, KB Buller. We know why they're putting KB Buller. Same thing with KB Buller. KB Buller, we saw him not be able to battle through adversity. We saw him be gun shy. In the beginning of your career, you're already showing the Tyrone Woodley syndrome. You're already gun shy and hesitant. What would that guy have been like in the end of his career? Good. He deserved it. It's one thing to lose, but to lose like that, that was most embarrassing performance I ever seen. He had some good openings because Michailidis is a low-level guy. Mark my words. Michailidis will probably never get another win in the UFC. That guy's pretty bad. He's the low end. He made him look good. Michailidis is a guy who trips over himself. He falls down all by himself. Very low level, clumsy, unbalanced. Doesn't have the most power in his hand punches. All right, let's see. What do you think about Lando Venata saying he has, it's a bad sign when somebody's going down in weight classes. When you go from one weight, look what happened to Frankie Edgar. He's technically supposed to be 0-2. And when he moved down, he lost a decision to Pedro Munez that they robbed and they gifted him a decision, but he should have lost. Then he got put to sleep, put into a coma. He's still probably not even awake from that knockout flying knee that Corey Sandhagen timed perfectly. So it's usually a bad sign when you're at the end of your career and you're trying to find a new home, a new weight class this late in your career. And he's a guy who's always had trouble with his cardio in the later rounds. So for him to go, you only go down in weight class if you can't hang. Yeah, exactly. And to be honest, man, he was never a big guy for that weight class. He was actually very small. So it's not like he's going to have some big advantage going down. He's still actually going to be this weaker guy. His opponent's going to be the stronger physical specimen. And now having to cut all that extra weight, his cardio is probably going to be even worse. But we don't know. This is another unknown variable. There's too many unknowns. All right, guys. So I unfortunately will not be talking about any more fights because the rest of the 9 fights are reserved for the Patreon. But if you don't mind, I would love it if you guys became Patreon members so I can talk to you more about the fights. I can give you full breakdowns, posts, statistics. I can give you everything I need to give you to be confident in who you're going to bet on. The link, it's in all the descriptions on all my posts, and I'm going to give it to you here. I'll type it into the comment section for anybody who wants it. I'm putting it into the comment section for you guys now. It's also on my Twitter. My Twitter is, I'll give you all my social media accounts. You can follow me there as well. And don't be confused. It's for my Patreon. It's MMA Parlay King, but with, for some reason, 3 M's. For some reason, they did not have the ability to give me only 2 M's. So you're going to have to type it in the way I'm putting it in. It's not a typo, so don't think I mistyped it. That it's supposed to be with 3 M's, not 2. Also, here's what I'm going to do, guys. Any former patrons, I believe in second chances, okay? If you're a former patron and I blocked you for whatever reasons, I didn't like I thought you were disrespectful. Usually I only block people who I felt were disrespectful. All right, so I'm going to give you guys a second chance, okay? This is even the newest people or the oldest people. Anybody who wants to come back to the Patreon, I'm going to give you guys a second chance. Mind you that the Patreon is now firing on all cylinders. I'm doing it full time. I've mastered the system, and we've got a new perk to the Patreon. We got many things changed. For example, Today, I've released the bet slips early. They didn't have to wait till before the weigh-ins. My $50 tier and my other tiers got their bet slips early as Wednesday and Thursday every week. Ignacio, I see he's saying something about Chandler's head movement. Hold on. You know what? Here's the thing I can tell you guys about Chandler and about the knees. I personally seen Chandler sitting with his team, one of his helpers, and studying tape. Chandler is religiously studying tape on his opponent. So he knows that his opponent throws a lot of knees. Thank you, Simple Man. I appreciate that, buddy. He knows exactly what moves and what type of arsenal and tools in the shed that Oliveira is going to be bringing to the table. He knows every movement before he's going to do it, what he's going to try to do. So he studied him very thoroughly, and he didn't miss anything and everything that Chandler's done in Oliveira's done in any of his fights. Chandler and his team is aware of it. He studied religiously all the stuff that he needed to on his tapes. That's the thing when you have that many fights in the UFC. Nothing's left to question. All right. Thank you, LK. Yeah, trust me, man. This is a spot. This guy has been waiting for an eternity to get to this spot. He knows that, especially due to the Oliveira, because Chandler will never shy away or avoid. Chandler is going to be similar to what we've seen Volkanovski be like. Volkanovski said he doesn't want money fights. He doesn't want to move and become double champ or triple champ. He wants to keep clearing out the division. That's one of the things I love the most about the new champion who beat Max Holloway, Alexander Volkanovski, is because he wants to only fight the best contenders and the top of the division ranked fighters. Chandler's the same way. So if Beneil wins, if Chandler wins, he knows that he can get a title shot. Chandler's not going to duck him. If Oliveira wins, that fight was already supposed to have happened. And he knows that it would only make sense because the same way that the UFC brass had made Oliveira become next in line, how can you deny somebody who will be on a 7-fight win streak, mostly by finishes? Can we take a moment and just appreciate the resume, the recent win streaks of Beneil Dariush, how he's putting away his opponents? He was nominated Comeback Fighter of the Year. He was in trouble in that Drakkar Klose fight. A high-level striker, a strong striker like Drakkar Klose, he's also a good wrestler. He put him away inside the distance only moments after being rocked himself. He went from being put away to putting him away in matters of seconds. Yeah, the 4-leg parlays. This is a week where my system is going to shine. My 4-leg parlays are paying 10-1. Let me explain this to you guys. This week, if we only cash in 30% of my bet slips, which how often have you seen that happen? On a good card like this, we'll probably cash in 100% of our bet slips. If we only cash in 30 or 40% of our bet slips this weekend, we're still going to profit. That's how good of the value is. That's why I was saying don't be greedy. Don't fall for the landmines like the Mizanis and stuff like that. Oh, you guys want to see a good submission as well using wrestling jiu-jitsu? Look at the Alvarez, another former champion of UFC. In his prime, Alvarez got submitted by Chandler. You guys, do you remember that submission? He used wrestling and jiu-jitsu. Another advantage he's got over his opponent. Yeah, I can imagine. Simple Man, all the other handicappers, everybody is saying that this is a tough card. For me, I can't see any tough cards. I don't. All I see is foolish spots, not because they're tough, but because it's a fact that they're low-level fighters who could win or lose. But the ones who are not win or lose 50-50s, there's nothing hard about these fights. They're as clear as night and day. It's black and white. There's no gray areas. For every other fight besides the couple of the women's fights, I can tell you that this is one of the best, easiest cards. I mean, they're all easy for me. I don't have trouble finding out who's going to win because I do my research. I put the time, when you have the knowledge, the fight IQ, the experience, the wisdom that I bring in from all the years of being a fan and a fighter and a trainer, there is no difficult card. This is an easiest card. If to me, every card I feel like is the easiest card ever. Hey, Al K, do me a favor, buddy. I had to remove your comment. Al K, you're inside the Patreon and you're paying for picks. Why are you releasing it in a public forum, man? Why are you releasing our picks in the public forum? You're not even giving just my picks. You're telling them which tier it is. What? People pay for that, buddy. It's okay. Honest mistake, I'm sure. No worries. It happens. Thank you. Yeah, man. So we got a good card. I think it's easy. Hey, let me ask you guys. This is one of my first lives. I'll be doing it more often. No worries, buddy. You don't have to apologize. Do you guys have the ability to go back and review this segment? Thank you, guys. I'm working on making it a possibilities for us to do lives. But you know what I could do, Al K, and everybody pay attention. We're going to have sometimes I'm going to release live segments that are for Patreon only. I could do it by releasing a link because YouTube will allow me to make these segments private unless I share a link with you guys. So I will share the link with the patrons only. So the next time I do a live, I may just make it a private patrons only live stream, which will still happen on YouTube, but only people inside the link who have the link inside the Patreon will have the ability to view it. Okay, so I have to record it and release it. Otherwise, it remains as a private or falls off. So for me to keep this video saved, what do I got to do to it? Oh, yeah. Did you see how I said, look, I said Zhang is about to get hit with something big. I said Naima Nunes is about to land something big. She's gonna get hit with something big. So anybody who was getting a live betting moment right there, they would have capitalized on that. I saw it coming because just the movement, the stance, and the looks. I saw that big knockout coming. I said that she was about to get hit with something big. Thank you, guys. So how do I get this? I'll figure it out. I think it'll probably, when I end the stream, it'll ask me if I want to save it or keep it. So for those who were late to the show, who didn't get my face-off observations and everything else we did, you can go ahead and rewatch it from the beginning. But we noticed that Ferguson and well, Oliveira especially had submitted and was intimidated and timid. The alpha male, the guy who was more alpha, who did not break first, the guy who broke first, who was more nervous, unlike his last face off. If you pay attention, just compare the time that he was facing off against Ferguson and this time, his body language, his eye contact, his face gestures, everything was different in a bad way. Any other questions before I get going here? Anybody have any questions or things they want to ask about or say? Questions or comments? And again, I'll leave my Instagram. Let me tell for all those who don't know it is MMA Parlay King. My old Instagram is Fighting Guru 5. It's still active. So Fighting Guru 5. Fighting Guru 5. For my Facebook, it's MMA Parlay King, the same way for Instagram. I also have an old one. Before Parlay King existed, I was a prop bet master. That still exists. And Patreon link, of course, which you can have again if I get out of here. And my picks and parlays, my bet slips are already released. So anybody who joins, you can have access to that already and beat the line movement. But some of the lines are moving in our favor. It seems like people are betting against everybody that we're betting on. So that's a good thing for us. Remember, 3 M's for my Patreon. It's MMM. 3 M's. Parlay King. Yes, ITD means inside the distance. So no, it means it will not go to the scorecards. ITD means it'll be finished by TKO or submission or KO. Sorry, it's like 3, let me see, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. It's 3 a.m. over here where I am right now, guys. And I can do this all night with you guys, man. I love spending time with you guys. See, I'm gonna even turn the lights off so I can fall asleep. Maybe while we're on live, if I sleep, you guys can wake me up. I'm just kidding. So anything else we forget to talk about before I get out of here? All right, so remember the video will stay up. Mr. Mahir, aren't you in the Patreon, Mahir? I will, I gave my pick, so you probably are not in the Patreon if you don't know who I picked, but I can't, unfortunately. Oh yeah, so where, just pay attention to which tier. I'll put an extra post for that fight, but there's a reason why I picked one of those guys and I put them in a specific tier. They are in a tier that they belong in for a reason. Yeah, I just want to be. I want to be respectful to the patrons who are paying for these picks. So I don't want to keep giving out free picks, if you know what I mean. Thank you, guys. All right, so we're approaching an hour and 35-minute mark. So I'll give it another couple of minutes in case there's any other questions you guys have to ask. If somebody's like typing in a long question that's like 6 paragraphs long, and I don't want to cut them off before they can hit the send button, I'll give it like another couple minutes. So if you're typing along the message, hurry it up. Sounds good, guys. I also, you know what? I'm going to do a special while we're here for anybody who wants to join the Patreon for this week. It's a 24-hour special, okay? It's a live companion special. If you're in the live companion or you watch this video, you can use promo code LIVEGURU, LIVE Guru, GURU. Mention Live Guru as the promo code for new members who sign up. I'm giving you a first month money back guarantee. If our May 15th bet slips don't cash in for the gold and ultimate tier, if you don't make profits. So if my gold membership or ultimate membership new members who join us that get my bet slips, if you joined today and used my promo code LIVEGURU, LIVEGURU, and you make you make my bet slips that I give you guys to duplicate each week. If you don't make profit, if those bet slips turned out to be losing bet slips where you don't make money, you don't make profits, I will give you your month for free. Remember, there's 4 weeks in a month. There's sometimes, it depends on which tier you're in. We have Bellator, we have LFA, PFL. So like last month, we had 9 events. So you're getting 9 events, 9 bet slips, prop bets for free if one event doesn't. So it doesn't even mean you won't make profit. Like even if something weird happens and we lost next week's events, which I can't imagine happening, that we don't profit, there's 4 other events in a month or 5 or 8 more sometimes for you to make profit. So it's never no one event. If you're doing things right, if you're doing it the way I tell you guys to do. How much is ultimate tier best betting website? Oh, yeah. The ultimate tier depends on which region. For US dollars, it's 150 for ultimate tier, but that includes like NHL, NBA, Bellator, Dana White Contender Series, Risen, Glory, PFL. If you just want UFC bet slips, you don't care about the other organizations, you can use gold for 100 only. 4 tiers. There's the $10 tier. It's made for like sample freebies. Once in a while, I'll give you free like a 2-leg parlay for samples. Then I'll give you like entertainment posts and MMA news and breaking news and fight announcements. That's the $10 tier. It's more for entertainment and just getting samples of the bets, sometimes here and there. Then the $50 tier is the next starter up. It's the one that helps you work your way up for the people that need to get a hand and couldn't afford the higher tiers off the bat. They get the main card fight bet slips. So only the 5 or 6 fights that they have on the main card only, not the prelims. I give you a bet slip designed only for the main card fights. And then the 100 tier gets the full card from early prelim to main card fights, the entire full night of UFC, plus everything that comes in the lower tiers as well. And then, of course, the ultimate tier gets all the stuff that the lower tiers get, except with the addition of having Bellator and all the other added bonuses like Risen, PFL, Glory Boxing, NBA, NHL, and all the different picks and parlays from different sports and other outside MMA organizations. So you get your money back in one prop bet, man. We go off of just one parlay. You can get all your entire month back in membership. I also offer an annual discount for people who want to join the Patreon and they know they're here for the long run. I always suggest and recommend you take advantage of the annual discount. I did this. Here's another special you can do for annual membership members only. If you 24-hour special, if you upgrade to annual membership, so if you become the grandfathered in at the lower discounted rate, not only will you get 16% off, almost 20% off from the purchase for the annual package, the 1-year package, which guarantees you a discounted rate and an extra discount. I will send you a $200 discount in addition to what they are offering. It's like a rebate. I'll give you a $200 rebate via PayPal, Cash App, or Zelle for anybody who joins the Patreon doing the full year annual membership. If you upgrade, you get the 1 year for a 16% discount plus $200 off. So if you're on the ultimate tier, that's going to bring you down to only paying 5 months less about. You get about 5 months for free. 5 months. So you can't beat that. The annual discount, the promo code for money back guarantee for anybody who signs up as a new member for gold or ultimate members only. And second promotion for ultimate tier members. Annual membership is going to be $200 off. If you go for the full year, you also get 16% off from Patreon. It's a big discount. And you know what we could do with that money. We turn hundreds into thousands here. So that discount, that money I save you will go a long way. We'll turn it into even more money. All right, guys, I'm out of here. 1 more minute. Any questions? Let them go now. Type it in. You see it's 3 a.m. over here. I got to get out of here. Tomorrow's a big day for the patrons. We got a lot of stuff coming out like prop bets and outside MMA is a lot of content, private segments. I got private segments that I'll be releasing tomorrow for every other fight that we didn't include in the talks today and in my other channel videos. Tomorrow in private segments, I'll release the remaining fights. I'll talk about the Soriano fight and all the other fights. I have a lot to say about all those fights. I haven't had a chance to say them yet. And then the weigh-in observations on Friday. I'll be back with another episode, probably either a private video for a live segment. So the next time we do a live segment will be for the patrons only. All right, I want to thank you guys all for joining me on my show today on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like, the reminder bells, and we will see you on the next video. All right, peace and love.